folks, thank you so much for joining us for yet another installment of Meet Music Knoxville. I am your host, Nick Horner, and I have the lovely privilege of being the most unprepared guy in the room when it comes to interviewing local musical talent. But that's okay, because that's what we're all about. We're about getting to know people we haven't met before and capturing some of that magic of, spitballing, figuring out what we have in common, what we don't have in common, and seeing where things go. And I'm excited for our guests today, but I'm also a little sad because this is going to be our last show that's going to be broadcast on Real Knoxville Music. We're definitely torn up over it, but the time has come for the station to shut down. That being said, we're going to continue doing Meet Music Knoxville because we have so much fun doing this, and that's great. But in the meantime, I just want to say a special thank you to the sponsors of the station that we've had for so long, Hutch and Howard Realty of Keller Williams, as well as Raven Records and Rarities. Thank you for helping make this happen for so long and supporting so much great local music. And then, of course, we'd be remiss to not say a special shout out to Chris Lamb. Thank you so much for all your work, buddy. It's been fantastic to be a part of the station, and I know a lot of great things are coming down the line. Feel like such a downer for what is going to be, I think, is a really fun conversation, but we got to dive into this. So I'm excited to chat today with someone whom I first encountered through Evie Andrus, who is just the sunshine of local Knoxville music. She's so great, and she makes so many great things happen and plays with such incredible people. And when I put the call out seeking, in particular, I was looking to make sure that we were getting representation from female artists here in town. Someone had mentioned that we needed to interview Jodi Harbin, and I'm excited because we are here now in my new space in Marble City, I guess this is called, and this is our first interview over here, and it's my first time meeting Jodi. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, you're welcome, Nick. It's so good to meet you, and so glad that I'm here and able to do this. I'm honored that you thought of me. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Well, I remember, I think you played bass for the Christmas show up at IMS last year, and I was like, oh, man, we gotta figure out how to make this happen. So again, it was really funny when you stepped in the door. We started talking about things like, we got to save it for the radio. Yeah. Save it for the radio. So let's start with this, because I know you had mentioned that you had lived in Colorado. Mm-hmm. Are you initially from Knoxville? Did you move here? How'd you get here? I'm
actually originally from Georgia. I'm from Middle Georgia, a little tiny town that's called Waverly Hall that nobody's ever heard of in their life. And I lived there until I graduated from high school, and I said, I got to get out of here. And so I left and I went to college at the University of Georgia. And then I came up here to school at UT and got my master's degree up here at UT. And then after that, I moved everywhere. Went to Colorado, back to Georgia. I've been everywhere, man. As the Johnny Cash song says, I've been everywhere. But I've been back here in Knoxville for probably, I moved back here in February of 2012. Oh, okay. And I've always loved Knoxville. It's a great place. I feel like I got here really as the music scene has just really been exploding and been it's been a great move for me.
Yeah, there's an electricity on the scene for sure.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, let me ask, just because as someone who's about to go for a master's degree at UT, what did you study?
Dirt.
You studied dirt. Okay.
Yep.
Dirt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my degrees Geology are in agriculture.
Oh,
actually.
Agriculture, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I did work in that field. My actual degree is in environmental soil science. And I did work in that field for quite a while. But I got to a place where I was married once before, and I got to a place where my husband was going to have to move for school, and I couldn't find a job. So I quit. And I've been a full-time professional musician ever since then, and that was in about 2002.
2002.
So about 21 years I've been a professional musician.
Yeah.
So it is possible.
Yeah, and did you playing bass the whole time? What do you play all the
I actually am a
grass?
piano player.
Really?
Yeah, I'm a professional piano player, so I play piano, and then I play mandolin and banjo and bass. I play guitar well enough to teach it, but I don't play it on stage.
So what's your background in piano?
Classical piano. I played piano since I was 4 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. And so I do a lot of piano gigs still. I have a consistent church gig that I play and, play other stuff as people ask me to.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And mostly classical stuff as church. You do like hymns and
anything.
Yeah.
Whatever.
No way.
Yeah.
I love this. This is what's so fun about these interviews. You never know. That's awesome. And did you always? So I met you obviously, or we're connected through Evie. Mm-hmm. That's bluegrass and traditional Americana music. Mm-hmm. How long has that been a part of your life? Did you grow up with it, or
I kind of grew up with it? Yes. I was raised in a very, very, very conservative Baptist home, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but the home I was raised in, we weren't allowed to play string instruments. So that's why I played piano. And after I kind of got out of the house and left, I went to a music store and bought a banjo because why not? I mean, I had listened to that music. I'd heard bluegrass music and traditional country music and that kind of thing my whole life growing up, but I had just never played it because, like I say, I wasn't allowed to. And but then, I got a banjo, and I kind of was not very good at that, and I traded that on a guitar, and I was kind of marginal at that. And then I went to a bluegrass festival in Colorado, in Durango. They have a Durango Bluegrass Meltdown every spring in April. And you know how it is at a bluegrass festival. They'll have a room where people have their instruments, vendors have their instruments and stuff out. I picked up a mandolin and I could just play it. And I was like, I'm buying this right now. And I never looked back. I bought it, and there you go.
What about the instrument made it so playable for you?
I don't know if that, mandolin has even intervals on the strings. It's tuned in fifths. That makes it really easy to pick out melodies. It didn't have that stupid B string that a guitar has that wears me out. If you're a master of the guitar, good on you, because it kills me. I mess it up every time. But I don't know. I just resonated with the mandolin.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I end up, cause I teach as well. Mm-hmm. And, I always push people toward the baritone ukulele because of its size, and you don't have to have big hands to play a full chord. Mm-hmm. The mandolin's tough because it's got a lot of string tension on it.
Yeah.
but I just when I hear people just gravitate toward an instrument, I'm always curious why. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like you have a personality connection to the mandolin?
I think so. Yeah. I love it. I don't play it out as much as I used to, just because I play bass, and when you play bass, that's what you end up playing all the time, because people are always looking for a bass player, which is good. I mean, I'm not complaining, but so I don't play it as much as I used to play it out, but I do play it quite a bit.
Yeah. And was the decision to get into bass the same thing that it is for most players in the bluegrass scene, where it's, we don't have a bass player and there's a bass over there. All right, figure out how to do it.
Exactly. Huh. Exactly what happened. When I moved here, I met my husband at the time, my husband now, his name's Tim Harbin, and we met at a bluegrass festival in Kansas. There's this big bluegrass festival called the Walnut Valley Festival that's been going on. I think this year's going to be the 52nd year. Mm. And I met my husband out there. And then when we decided to get married and I moved here, he already had a mandolin player in his band, my buddy Steve Potts, and he already had him. And so it was like, we need a bass player. So I just learned how to play the bass. There you go. Yeah. And I did, I had a little bit of experience with bass because I was actually in the band here at the University of Tennessee, and I played the tuba.
Got it. Which is a great old-time instrument.
Yeah. The tuba's fun.
Yeah, we used to do a flat-footing parade in Brooklyn where I was, and the best thing was that we had these tuba players that would come up from Baltimore and be a part of it. And it was like the tuba, it just resonated. It was like perfect. It just was a really incredible grounding instrument.
Mm-hmm. So, it gives something for everything else to sit on.
Yeah.
It's
well, in the bass, the bass can get kind of lost if it's, it's not intimate enough setting.
That's
the tuba's
right.
Yeah. Well, let's go back to your childhood. So you grew up in the church, and obviously it's like what type of music were you doing in church? And is that the same?
Hymns, piano. Yeah, it was very traditional, so very traditional hymns and stuff like that. But it was great. I would not trade my church experience for anything, because I started playing for church every Sunday when I was 13.
Yeah.
And I mean, I definitely believe that, I'm a really good sight reader. Any kind of music you put in front of me, I can read it. Well, that's because I had to. At church, you have to. That's what you just do. So, it was good. It was a great, it was a really great thing. Definitely formed me as a musician.
Yeah. And did you, as being the pianist, did you end up doing a lot of singing as well, or was that something that
kind of both
later?
Yeah, kind of sang, but I mean, because we all sang and played. If we were playing like piano or whatever, we definitely were singing at the same time.
Yeah. So, now, were there other people in your family that were also musicians, or were you the lone?
I'm the only one.
Huh.
Yep. I was the only one. I was adopted as a baby, and my parents, they didn't have any musical experience, but they told me that I was absolutely obsessed anytime, I grew up in the country. We had one channel on the TV, maybe two on a good day if you held your mouth right, And if music came on the TV, I was obsessed from a little bitty child. I was just absolutely obsessed with it. So they knew that I had some kind of proclivity to want to play music, and they got me in piano lessons when I was 4. So that was a long time ago.
Yeah,
now.
Good on them. That's a good formation.
It's a good formation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, you went on into your teen years playing piano. What was the first time you found music kind of outside of that you really identified with?
Well, we I snuck around when I was a kid and would mess around with guitars at other people's houses, staying over. And we kind of tried to make a little band, as 13, 14-year-old kids will do. And this is going to show my age, which actually today's my birthday. So it's I know,
Happy
today's my birthday.
Oh my gosh.
So this was in the 80s, and Boy George and the Culture Club was really popular. And we were trying to figure out how to play all those songs on guitar and keyboard, and I'm sure it sounded terrible, but we had so much fun doing it. And so I figured out that I'm oh yeah, so I can play all this music that they put in front of me on the piano, but I can also make up stuff too. And that was a big realization, going from just the reading music to going to, I've got it in my head and I can make my own music.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, it was a really fun thing.
So when you say that, are you talking about mostly is it improvisation, or is it the idea of writing, or is it kind of both?
Kind of both, honestly. Yeah, I didn't do a whole lot of songwriting until I was probably in my 20s. But, and I still haven't done a whole lot. I am not a prolific songwriter, but I come up with a lot of ideas, and I come up with, melodies and things like that, chord progressions, which, I like to come up with that kind of stuff. My one singing partner in Colorado, he is a song factory. That guy, if he writes one song a week, he writes 10.
Yeah.
I mean, he's really very prolific.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, and that's the thing, it's I find that if you hang around those prolific folks, you end up picking up some of that through some form of osmosis, but also, that process of arranging those songs is as much writing and improvising.
Yeah. And I love that process. After the kind of formation or the idea of the song is there, I'm really good at coming in later and going, okay, now we can take it and do this. I'm not quite as creative on the front end.
Yeah.
But that's why he and I work well together, because he is super creative on that end, and then we kind of come up with stuff, Oh,
that's amazing.
Yeah.
All right, so let me pull up these CDs.
Sure, yeah.
So it's obviously this is the one, this is Lonesome Traveler.
Lonesome Traveler.
And remind me again, what was your partner's name?
His name is Dustin Scott.
Dustin Scott.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he and I. There were some other people that are involved in Lonesome Traveler in the early times. The album that you're holding is our 4th album. It's called "The Future Is Now the Past." All original. I would say we're not quite as bluegrass as we used to be, because you're going to hear a lot of different things on that CD. I mean, there's a piano song where I play piano totally on it, and I got to play on this gorgeous grand piano at the E-Town Studios in Boulder, and it was just like amazing to get to play on that piano there. But it's got a lot of stuff on it. There's drums, there's accordion, there's all kinds of little
sort of
weird things.
Generally trad influence.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Got it. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm excited about that. I've never been one for the straight genre lines.
Yeah.
But that being said, it's anyways, but this is the future is now past. You said this is the fourth.
This is the fourth album, yeah. And the past three that we did at one time before I moved from Colorado. I mean, we toured all over the western United States, and we had a bus that ran on waste vegetable oil called the Fry Daddy. And
wow. I was gonna ask if your environmental agro thing impacted your stuff.
A little bit.
Well, let me segue into that real quick.
Yeah, sure.
In what ways is that still a part of your life? I mean, obviously, it's it changes the scope of the way you think about things.
Yeah.
But
Well, I mean, I am an avid gardener. I love to garden or experiment, as my husband thinks, because he's like, "Oh, you planted all these tomatoes and now nothing's happening with them." I'm like, "It's an experiment. Every year is an experiment." But I love to garden. I love to work outside in my yard, and I think that probably nowadays that's where, like, the kind of the environmental soil science comes out more in me. Is I'm like, okay, this is my little space. There's no pesticides. There's none of that stuff is happening in our little area here. So, yeah.
Where do y'all live in town?
We live in Powell.
Powell, okay.
Yep.
Oh, great.
We actually don't live in Powell. We live between Powell and Carnes on Emory Road. So out in the country. It's great. I love it.
I know. We're talking about that.
Yep.
It's like, oh, I was just going to go raise some goats.
Yep, that's right. Just give me some goats.
Just give me some goats. I'll be fine. Well, great. Okay, so coming back to this.
Sure.
This is the fourth record. This is the more... and when was this... When did this come out?
That album came out 2021, I think.
Okay,
so I think that's true.
You went back, and you have been sort of crossing the country.
Yeah, I mean, I did some recording in person out there. We record at E-Town with the guy's name is James Tuttle, that is our recording engineer out there. But I also do some recording here because we have a studio at our house, and we just send files back and forth. That's the beauty of it nowadays. And a lot of times we have a woman that plays bass on there who is a dear friend of mine for forever. Her name's Ashley Caudle, and she lives in Nashville. So we just throw files back and forth all the time.
Yeah.
But it's fun to be in person. Yeah. It's the energy is just different if you can be in person, but that's just not always possible. So
it's I find it's like my favorite thing recently has been, well, not even recently. Like, my favorite thing to do, honestly, is track the live rhythm section. So you still have that energy.
Yeah.
But then it's like get some vocal isolation. Do some scratches. Then if you need to redo them, you can redo them.
Yeah, that's right. You can redo them. That's it.
Have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah.
Well, cool. That's interesting to hear that you're still sort of doing that. Well,
and we're still working on another recording. I mean, like, we have more stuff in the hopper. So,
you said he is very prolific.
Yes, he's very prolific songwriter. So we've got more stuff in the hopper that's going to keep on coming. So probably in a couple of years, the fifth album will come out.
Great. Well, have eyes open. Well, then let me ask about your duo with Tim.
Yeah.
So I'm holding here Jesus is Coming Soon, which is a record of gospel tunes and like bluegrass gospel tunes.
Yeah.
Do you have you guys recorded much together?
That's actually the only thing we've recorded together so far. We have a lot of stuff that's kind of in the can that we just haven't done anything with, but we specifically put that album together. My husband and I, Tim Harbin, we play for a homeless ministry here in Knoxville called Highways and Byways, and the beautiful people at that ministry asked us to record an album for them. And so we did, and we put that album out, I think in 2016 or 2017 we put it out. And we just give them away to everybody. People give us money if they want to, and we give all the money to the homeless for that.
So cool.
It's just all traditional bluegrass gospel tunes.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And we played all the instruments on there. Me and my husband did everything. So it's just us.
Cool.
So, yep.
Yeah. It's I see you working quadruple duty on this. Which is
Sometimes
great.
I'm singing with myself too, which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
But it works.
Yeah. Now I'm just curious about the process.
Sure.
Did you guys do bass and guitar singing together and then laid in the parts?
We did kind of do that, and then we also did some of just tracking the rhythm section and then laying in the scratch over it, or laying in the vocal later.
Yeah.
So we did a little bit of both. We were in our old studio space when we recorded most of that, and we have a new studio space in our house now. But yeah, so we were a little bit more limited on. We didn't have any kind of way to isolate or anything like that. So we just, what can we record together? Oh, okay, we'll do this.
Yeah, I'm always amazed by like the ingenuity that it takes, especially when you're recording electro or it's recording acoustically.
Yep.
Right, because it's not like my electric guitar's just plugged in.
That's right.
I'm listening to it through headphones. It's like the acoustic guitar. It's loud. Might be a Martin. It might be bleeding into everything, you know?
That's right. It just is everywhere. And when you're recording the acoustic stuff, then our old studio used to be in the bonus room above the garage. So if anybody was mowing the lawn within like a mile, you could hear it. And we're just like, So, okay, we'll record at 1 a.m. Nobody's going to be mowing the lawn at 1 a.m.
So, you'd be surprised what you hear people do.
Exactly.
Yeah. You learn a lot about the neighborhood.
You learn a lot about the neighborhood.
Yeah.
That's true. But yeah, so we're already working on our next project. And we have a big list of songs, Tim and I do, to put on our new project, and so we'll just see. We'll see if it's going to be another gospel project or if it's going to be a mixture, or who knows. I'm not sure yet.
Well, in your big list of songs, is it original music?
There's
mostly?
A few original songs in there. Tim is not a writer of songs pretty much, but he is a great guitar player, and he loves Doc Watson, Norman Blake, that kind of style, which isn't hardcore bluegrass, So we actually do a lot of that kind of stuff. He does a lot of Jimmy Rogers songs, a lot of old music, but we like that. Yeah. We both also play in the band at the Museum of Appalachia. So playing in that band, that's definitely, you're going to play a lot of that older music like that.
Tell me more about that. Because I don't know. I didn't realize that there was a regular thing that y'all did up there.
Oh, yeah. At the Museum of Appalachia, they have a lot of tour groups and stuff that come through. And when they want a show, usually, like with their lunch. So we just go and play for like an hour during their lunch or whatever. The guy that's the leader of that band, his name is John Alvis, and I actually teach with him at his studio in Norris. He has a big music studio called Sleepy Eyed John's. Okay. And I teach up there with him, so he's kind of the leader of the museum band, and we play for all kinds of stuff up there. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, sounds it. So, so we're covering a lot of this music stuff, which is great. But there are just so many other things. So you're in your travels. You're out in Colorado. You moved around a little bit. You were on the road. You were touring. Tell me about touring. What was that process like?
Touring was a lot of fun with Lonesome Traveler. We had this bus, and we went all over the Western United States, and we would kind of, we played a lot of festivals. Lonesome Traveler never has been what I would call a real super traditional bluegrass band, which you can get away with that a little bit more out west. We didn't have a consistent banjo player. And a lot of people back here will be like, "You didn't have a banjo? It's not bluegrass." But we didn't have one. We had the guy that I play with, Dustin Scott. He is like a flat picker. His dad played in the band with us, and he is like a Travis style finger picker. So we had a cool groove because of that. Fantastic dobro player named Ansel Foxley played with us. Fiddle player named Chad Fisher, and a bass player Evan Neal. And we wrote a lot of music, but we did a lot of cover tunes as well. I wouldn't say we did a lot of real traditional bluegrass cover tunes. We would take a song that we liked and turn it into what we would do.
Oh, great.
And so a lot of we would get hired at a lot of festivals because we were a little bit different. Like, in fact, we played one time at this festival that's down in West Cliff, Colorado. And Michael Cleveland and Flamekeeper, fantastic band, super hardcore traditional, but great band. They were playing with us, and their guitar player, I'll never forget it, and we still laugh about this. He goes, we come off stage, and he goes, "Man, y'all are different, but y'all are real good." So we're like, that is like the tagline for Lonesome Traveler. "Man, y'all are different, but y'all are real good." Yeah. And we were like, yeah, we are different. We're different.
That's great.
But yeah, we really, we had a really good vibe with that. We played, like I said, we played all over. With the waste vegetable oil thing, we would get vegetable oil from restaurants. And I'm one of these people that, like, if I go somewhere one time, I can always go back there. Yeah. I don't get lost. It just is the way I'm built. And so I had this book of every state, the different places that we gotten vegetable oil from in the past. And we would go back. I'm like, oh, we need some veg oil. Turn here and let's go back to this place. And we would go to this little Chinese restaurant, and they're like, oh, sure, you can have our grease. And we would just get it. And
that's amazing.
It was a very interesting way to travel.
Yeah.
but it worked. It was cool. I think we figured out we logged something like 300,000 miles.
Yeah.
And all using waste vegetable oil.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's pretty awesome. Cool. I'm not sure you could still do that nowadays. I think they've got the waste vegetable oil market kind of tied up. They figured out they can make stuff out of it. Biofuel and stuff like that. And so the restaurants get paid for it now. Whereas back then, they were just like giving it to us. They would just be like, yeah, sure. We don't have to pay the guy to come clean it out,
Yeah, I remember in those earlier days of that technology, like reading articles about people doing stuff like that, traveling on, and it's fascinating.
This was from I think we got our bus in like 2007, and we did that from 2007 to 2011.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was cool. I mean, I loved traveling. I love to travel.
Where are your favorite places? How about this? Where are your unlikely cities that you found that you were just like, or towns or whatever that you were just like, oh man, I fell in love with this place?
Unlikely places. Battle Mountain, Nevada.
Okay.
And I say Nevada because they made so much fun of me for saying Nevada on stage. They say Nevada. It was just this little old festival, bluegrass. I think we played it more than once. Sometimes that stuff gets run together in my brain a little bit because I've been a lot of places. But I think we played that festival more than once. And the stage, the train track was right behind the stage. And, of course, it's one of those towns where the train goes through every, 3 hours.
Yeah.
So, you're up there playing. You're just like, okay, train's going through behind us. Wow, it's really loud. Okay, just keep going, But we just loved that little town. The people were super sweet. We were kind of, at that time, on this Western circuit with this band called Cedar. What were their name? It's Frank Ray is the guy that plays mandolin for him. Cedar. I knew I was going to forget the name of that band. But we would play at all the same festivals together. Yeah. And they were real traditional. They were from Missouri and really, really traditional, but real, real good. And we would just see them everywhere. And we just, I don't know, we loved Battle Mountain, Nevada. What a cute little place. Yeah. I don't know. What else was a fun one? We played at a really weird festival one time in Arizona. What was the name of that town? See, this is the problem, is I can't remember where it is. It's way down south, like south of Tucson, like maybe
is it Bixby? Bixby. Bisbee. No. Bisbee.
We're so close, both of us.
It's the one right on the border. Yeah.
Very interesting place to play.
Oh, yeah.
In a good way. It was really fun. I don't know. I like going everywhere.
Yeah. Do you ever do Tucson?
Yes.
I love Tucson.
Yes, we played in Tucson. Yep. Phoenix.
Yeah.
I know one of the weirdest places we played. We played in Jerome, Arizona. Do you know about Jerome? Jerome is, and I forget it was a mining town, and I forget what the thing they mined there was, but this whole town is built on the side of a cliff.
Oh, geez.
It's crazy. It's like, so hairpin turns like, people on the radio are like, what is she doing? Going back and forth, hairpin turns, back and forth, all the way up the side of this mountain.
Yeah.
It was wild. And the place that we played at apparently was haunted. the hotel part. So it was like a saloon, like old school, old west. It was a lot of fun. Yeah. That's one to look up is Jerome, Arizona.
We might be out there in the spring, so I'll
definitely.
Yeah. Do you know how far is it from Tucson? Do you know?
It's north of Phoenix.
North of Phoenix. So
it's a little far, but not too far. It's not that far north of Phoenix. Yeah. Oh, it's kind of between like Phoenix and what's the fancy place that everybody goes? Sedona. It's between there.
Huh.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a neat place.
All right, logging it up here. I'll check it out. Oh, cool.
Very good. Yeah, I just, I love to travel. I'm kind of more of a homebody now.
Yeah.
But as I get a little bit older, but I love to travel and just see things. And I like to drive because I like to see what it looks like. Mm-hmm. Flying is fine, but I like to drive.
Yeah. When you fly someplace, think about all of the spots that you miss along the way.
All that
gradation.
Yes. Yeah. All the neat little things. I went to Salt Lake City last week for a thing, and that was exactly it. It was like I went from East Tennessee, beautiful, green, lush, gorgeous, to desert, really hot. And it's, you don't get that gradation. You don't get that change that happens as you're driving across country. So.
Yeah, and the thing I always got from touring, which was great, was it was in the people that you'd meet, and you'd sort of really kind of be able to watch people slowly change, but also figure out how everyone's kind of still the same.
Yep.
And that was always amusing to me. The subtle dialect shifts every time you stop for gas. Yeah.
Just a little bit, and my accent is very thick.
Yeah.
And people are always like, God, where is she from? I'm like, So I try to tone it down a little bit sometimes, but then it still slips out.
Oh, yeah. Get excited. Give it
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, cool. So, So is there anything else we're missing from this landscape of your life? We're talking a lot about the tour. We're talking a lot about the music stuff. We haven't. So you do some writing. Yep. Mm-hmm. Talk to me about your process of what writing that you do.
When I can settle down myself, it mostly, I like to write on the piano because I like to be able to play the full chords and to do that. And I'm just the most comfortable on the piano because I've been playing it since I was a little kid. And it's like there's nothing about that instrument. I know where everything is. I know what it feels like. It's like there's nothing about it. So when I can get settled down, often my writing process just starts with me noodling on the piano, just messing around. And then I'll be like, oh, well, that's kind of cool. And then that's kind of, and I'll try to remember it. Now, the great thing with, having a computer in your pocket, like your phone.
Boop.
Yes.
Pulls out phone, records. Yeah.
Pulls out phone, records. Like back in the day, I would be like, okay, well, that's gone because I did something else for 5 minutes and now my brain is in a different area, So I try to get that down. I do have, I'm not a great lyricist. Yeah. Just being honest, because sometimes I write something and I'm like, that is the tritest sounding thing in the world. That sounds stupid, But I've also gotten to where I can use words as placeholders.
Yeah.
And don't get too attached to that. You just use a word as a placeholder and then kind of go from there. I'm good at wordsmithing other people's words. That's where Dustin and I work really well together. He'll be like, I got this, but it needs some help. And I'm like, oh, well, we can move this around here, maybe use a different word here. So I'm that, I like that collaborative process kind of after the song is starting to be born of, then you take it to the next place.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And, and this sort of got me thinking about this idea of sort of what your voice is apparently as a composer, but also as an arranger. Who are the musicians that you think have inspired you the most, whether it be just stuff you were listening to or recording? Are there any artists that you sort of hear or think about or conjure in your own playing, whether it be at the piano or...
Yeah, that's a really good... my favorite band, bluegrass band of all time is the Nashville Bluegrass Band. And I love them because they have a traditional sound, but they really celebrate songwriters. Like, if you really dig into their catalog, you'll be like, whoa, they're not doing a lot of rehashed Bill Monroe, Lester Flatt, Earl Scruggs, that kind of stuff. Yeah. They're digging out and finding songwriters. Like, they're the ones that pretty much got Gillian Welch launched into the bluegrass world.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yep, they have an album. I don't know. I think it might be on their Unleashed album that they did, like Red Clay Halo and some other, songs of hers, Tear My Still House Down. Mm-hmm. So I love them for that. I also love them the way that they arrange things. They did a lot of playing in unison, and you don't hear that a lot. In a lot of bluegrass, the improvisational lead is what's really celebrated. Well, in Lonesome Traveler, one thing we did, and Tim and I do this too, is we would play like a big unison lead. All of the lead instruments are playing it together. And that you don't hear that a lot, but there's a lot of power in that.
Yeah.
Having that full force, and at Winfield, this festival that Tim and I met at, I love to play sessions, Irish sessions or old time sessions, and we got a lot of inspiration, and I got a lot of inspiration just from playing in those sessions and hearing the power of everybody playing in unison together.
Yeah.
And just that, whoa, so we used that device a lot in Lonesome Traveler. Of course, I love Alison Krauss. I can't sing like her. I don't know who can. But, really dissecting her arrangements, there is a lot of thought given to every single thing that is put on her recordings.
Yeah.
And I like that. It's, it's cool. Sometimes I like the more spontaneous, but that's a really cool thing to go, oh, wow, that dobro note placed right there was really cool. And then it was like dobro, and then it faded away, So I really like her a lot.
Yeah.
Outside of the bluegrass world,
Boy George, you mentioned Boy George earlier.
Back in the day, yes. Back in the day,
I didn't know whether you still had Boy George resonating up in there.
I'm sure. I mean, listening in the 80s, I was kind of into that kind of new wave, even like punk kind of music. I had crazy hair back in the 80s, back in the in that time, But I was just trying to think of other people. Norman Blake, Doc Watson. I think that's one reason why me and my husband are such a good match, because those two, even though I'm not really a guitar player, those two artists are like two of my absolute favorite artists. I love them. I love everything that they did. It's just, and they're much more wide reaching than just, bluegrass. I mean, they're acoustic guitar, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of stuff outside of I really gravitate towards acoustic music. Yeah. It's hard for me to listen to stuff that's too heavy. Yeah. It's a little bit much.
So what's something recent that you've heard that was not bluegrass or traditional that you've been like, oh, there's something well, you know what you mentioned before? You mentioned that you loved to take songs and work them into being bluegrass songs. What are some of those songs that you like to do?
That's okay. There's this song by Brandi Carlile that I like to do suddenly right now I can't think of the name of course. And I took that and did it on clawhammer banjo. Of course, she didn't do it that way. I like Adele. That's because Adele is a great singer. That woman can sing now. Gosh. And she's a good piano player. She plays all her own piano parts.
I didn't know that.
So I like her stuff, and I like to take some of her stuff and bring it. And often when I do that, I end up playing clawhammer banjo with that. Mm-hmm. Just because it kind of seems to fit. Mm-hmm. So those are kind of two that I really, really like a lot. Who used to be more country, but now she's kind of gone more bluegrass, is Amanda Cook. Mm-hmm. She used to be a lot more country, and I like her a lot too. Yeah. So yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm always intrigued by that, because it's hard to be. You cannot exist in a bubble these days because you can't help it. There's music blaring in every different direction.
Yeah, so. Yeah. I don't listen to a lot of commercial country. I do some because I have students that want to learn the songs. Mm-hmm. So I have to. I'm impressed with Carrie Underwood's voice. That girl can sing too. I mean, she's really good.
Yeah.
You know? And I have to I teach her songs to a lot of kids. Because they're like, I want to learn to do All American Girl. And I'm like, sure. Here we go.
So are the bulk of your students learning sort of acoustic country, traditional kind of music?
I have about half and half, like piano students. I about half piano students and half everything else. And so my piano students, most of them are a little bit more on the classical. Not all of them. As they get a little bit more music reading under their belt, I'll be like, hey, okay, let's branch out into this. Let's see if you can figure out these chords to this song. And usually once they can do that, they're like, whoa, mind blown. I can, figure all kinds of stuff out. And then about the other half of my students are mandolin, banjo, some guitar, some students that I just work with on some things like theory and, music theory and that kind of thing. And I have a lot of kids and I've got a lot of adults that take. So I have kind of everything. Yeah. I think my oldest student right now is 79.
Wow.
And my youngest student is 7. I think that's right.
72 year.
A 72 year. Yeah. And I love it. I love teaching too. Yeah. That's one of the great joys that I've been able to do is to stay a performing musician, but also teach. Mm-hmm. And, I really like it. I love seeing, I have a young lady student of mine that still comes and takes like some theory lessons. And you probably know her, Casey Moore. She plays with Eddie.
Yeah.
She is just a joy to teach because you just watch her blossoming into this, professional musician on her own accord. And for me as a teacher, I'm like, that's the goal.
Yeah.
Right there. That's the goal.
Oh, yeah.
Not even to be a professional, but just to enjoy music for the rest of your life.
Well, and it seems like the way you're talking about your process of even working with other musicians, you're very much in this engaged sort of like process, which I think is very similar to teaching in a lot of ways, because it's you're really just imparting that ability to be invested in what you're doing, musically speaking.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite instrument to teach, or do you they both just scratch different itches?
They all kind of scratch different itches. Piano is a lot of fun to teach because it's all right there. Every note is there. Boom. You push it and it goes. That's it. On mandolin or guitar or banjo, any of those, oh, you want to play a G? Well, you can play a G here, 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 here. You're moving all over. On piano, it's like, you want to play the G above middle C? Here it is. Bing. That's it. That's the one. So I love that because once a student, whether they be a kid or an adult, once a student sees that piano and goes, oh, I see how it works. I had a little girl yesterday. She's precious. She's like 8. Just started her first day of 3rd grade yesterday. And she was so excited. And she's playing this little song. It's like really simple. She's playing this little song and she did it wrong the first time. She went down G, E, C. And she was like, wait, that's not what that says. Oh, it goes up. It was like the first time she saw it. And I mean, just that little moment is like, yes, all right, that's it for me. That's like,
Well, it's also that teaching someone to fish,
That's right.
Yeah.
I love that because I have another student who is not going to come back to lessons this year, but I was honestly thinking, with the direction he's going, he doesn't need to have any more lessons from me. He's got it. I've taught him to fish.
Yeah.
He's got it. Go. Do it. You got it. You got it, brother. And that's a good thing. That's okay. That's fun.
Yeah.
So I do love teaching. I have the perfect balance, I think, in my life right now of performing and teaching.
Mm-hmm. Man, and gardening.
And gardening.
Performing, teaching, gardening.
Yeah. And what my else? Chickens.
And chickens?
I have some chickens at my house.
What kind of chickens do you have?
I have one barred rock. Her name is Corona.
Oh,
I have.
Did you get her during the?
Yes.
Yeah.
And she was a pain in my hind end when I got her because she escaped into the fence row, and I had to wait for my husband and my sister-in-law to get home so we could catch her because you can't catch a chicken by yourself.
Oh my God.
You just cannot.
No.
So I got Corona, and then I have a Welsomer. Her name is Donna the Welsomer. Then I have these 2 black chickens, and they're like crossbreeds, and one of them's name is Gladys, and the other one's Happy Butt. Because Gladass, Happy Butt, can't tell the difference. That's my chickens. I know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that. My chickens and my gardening and teaching and playing. I just have I'm extremely blessed.
Yeah.
I don't have anything to complain about in the
Sounds
world.
great. Yeah. I want to be like you. More like you, certainly. Well, let me ask this. Where clearly you've done a lot of really great stuff in the world of music and beyond. What are some of the things that you want to do? Like, is there anything that you're like itching to like, I actually want to figure out how to plug in and do electric clarinet banjo. I doubt that's what you're going to say, but could be. What?
But it could be. I want to continue, especially like with my bass playing, because I love playing the bass. That's been a more recent thing for me, because of not always playing bass. I would want to branch out into more types of genres to play bass. I'm trying to work on my jazz bass pinky to make it actually function properly, and it's still not working on it, but I'm trying to work on that. So I want to do that more. I just want to keep collaborating with a lot of different people. Mm-hmm. That's been in playing bass and getting to play with a lot of different people. That's been a really cool thing, is to just get to collaborate with a lot of different kinds of styles and people and see how I fit in with that. It's a challenge. I love it. I love the challenge of going into a gig, and I played a gig a couple of weeks ago, set in with the band's traditional bluegrass band, but I played with them for 3 gigs, and there was no set list.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
I loved it. I was like, bring it on. I like a challenge. I really like that. I like to be pushed to the edge of my abilities.
That's how you get better.
Yeah.
That's how you grow.
That's how you grow. I like that. So, I'd like to do some more mandolin stuff where I'm not just playing bass all the time, even though I love playing bass. I'd like to do a few more mandolin things. I do sometimes plug in my mandolin and mess around with the looper pedal, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I'm not very good at it yet.
That's a whole other skill, though.
It is.
That's like,
boy, you are right.
Yeah. What kind of looper do you have?
I don't know. It's little. I have no
idea. A little looper. Yeah.
It's tiny. It's like this big. I don't know. My husband got it.
Well, and the funny thing about loopers is I found is that where they're a ton of work. I don't do them. I experimented.
Did you experiment?
Yeah. You can't be a musician in the modern era and not have experimented with a looper. At some point. But, I think the funny thing about loopers is because of the natural imperfection of, like, being a human. Like, unless you have just, like, the most rock-solid rhythm.
Yeah.
And then on top of it, like, at least the, like, ability to maintain, pitch, harmony, and good ideas in a way that, like, you can build off of it. Like that is a daunting task.
Yeah, it's a daunting task, but it's kind of fun, and as long as I'm not like doing it live in front of anybody yet, it's like I can like mess around with it.
Yeah,
but I do that. I'm really wanting to forward that, and as far as my teaching goes, I like to teach not just like individual lessons, but I like to teach people how to jam, how to play with each other.
Yeah.
I think that is a very useful thing, and I think that in the long run, it just fosters community.
Yes.
People playing together. Mm-hmm. They can come together around a common thing. So I want to teach. I do teach jamming now, but I want to do more of that and just keep bringing people together. Evie and I have actually worked together a lot on the East Tennessee Bluegrass Association, and and that's kind of one of the things that we do there is we really like to foster that community. And I want to do more of that.
Yeah.
Is just keep fostering that community
Beautiful.
of people coming together and playing. And, that I think with COVID and just how everything was so closed down, I feel like people are ready for community. People want that community again. They want that. And anything I can do to help that and be a part of it, because I want it too,
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, same. Well, we are about out of time for this, but before we get going, you're building a website now?
I am. I'm working on a website. I've got it.
Do you have a URL?
I do have a URL, and it's got like a page coming soon kind of thing. So yes, please. It's JodiHarbinmusic.com, JODI. Is how I spell Jodi, and Harbin, HARBIN, music.com. Mm-hmm. And check me out there. I'm working on it real hard. I have a dear friend, Krista Kennedy, who's helping me because I am not very tech savvy. Hence our conversation about the looper.
Social media stuff, people follow you there too?
Yep, I'm on social media. I'm on Facebook, Jodi Harbin. You can follow my personal page, or I have a music page on there, Jodi Harbin Music. I'm also on Instagram. I think my handle on there is Jodi Mandolin.
Okay.
Jodi Mandolin, yep. And just any place, holler at me. If you ever see me out and around, holler at me, because I'm a very social person. I like to talk.
Oh my gosh, amazing. This is so great. And thank you for coming out on your birthday. Oh my gosh, happy birthday.
Thanks.
That's so exciting.
I'm excited. It's kind of a rainy day here for my birthday in Knoxville, but I don't care because now I'm going to go buy plants.
That's what I was going to say. What are you going to do? So that's your thing. Where do you go to buy plants?
I go to a lot of different places. One place I'm going to go today for sure is Aaron's Meadow in Oak Ridge.
Aaron's Meadow in Oak Ridge.
Aaron's Meadow. She has the most amazing herbs and stuff like that. I got to get some new rosemary because I lost all my rosemary last year in that cold weather.
Yeah.
It's okay. Such is life. You get another one.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go get some more rosemary. I'm going to go there. I'm going to go to Stanley's.
Yeah.
Stanley's is always good.
Stanley's.
I have to go to Aaron's Meadow first though, because if I go to Stanley's, it'll be danger. So it's like.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you again so much for coming out.
Thanks, Nick. Thank you so much as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And this has been Meet Music Knoxville. Yes, stay tuned. If you're listening in on the radio, you can find, if you search Nick Horner Family on YouTube, you'll be able to find the rest of these interviews archived with Jodi and a lot of other great people, and also the interviews to come. So thank you so much for listening, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day.
I am thinking today of that beautiful land I shall reach when the sun goes down. When through wonderful grace by my Savior I stand, will there be any stars in my crown? Will there be any stars in my crown? When at evening the sun goes down, when I wake with the blessed in those mansions of rest, will there be any stars in my crown? In the strength of the Lord, let me labor and pray. Let me watch as a winner of souls, that bright stars might be mine in that glorious day, when His praise like the sea billows roll. Will there be any stars in my crown? When at evening the sun goes down, when I wake with the blessed in those mansions of rest, will there be any stars in my crown? Oh, what joy
there be any stars in my crown? Will there be any stars in my crown? Whenever